Hey guys, how are we this morning? I hope everyone is well. It is the 7th of February and the market is due to open in about 8 minutes. So we've started off again basically pretty much the same as most of yesterday's sideways. In fact, we've more or less, it's just like we've extended a day. More or less carrying on from yesterday, basically. So we have still got a bit of a gap up here, which I've just marked these just in case we get up near that and possibly fill that today, possibly. I've just marked it anyway, so I'm aware of it. So who have we got in? Nicholas, afternoon. How you doing, buddy? Ionis, how are you? I had to think about that one again. Jim, how you doing, Jim? So I hope everybody's well. Hope everyone had a good day yesterday. We had a nice day yesterday. Nice one trade yesterday. So it's always nice to go home green. I hope everyone had a good day. So we've got some news today, but hopefully we should be done before then. I like to be done before that, maybe done for 5 o'clock our time, which is about 40 minutes. We'll see what happens 40 minutes before the news is due to come out. So if we can get a trade in or something like that by the, before 5 o'clock, we'll probably call it a day. We'll see how we get on. Hey, Sam, how you doing? So we are on day 4 of this evaluation. We're up $1,000 now. I've traded only actually traded 3 days, but Friday I had some family stuff, so I just literally dropped a 1-tick micro in there just to count the day, because it'd be a shame to get to 6 days, hit the target, and I've got a trade Monday just for the count. So I kind of like to get the days done and dusted. If I'm not traded, I'm at least marked. So it's pretty much just continuation of what happened yesterday, which was more or less a range day. Well, it was a range day. Had this little push in, but for the rest of the day we ended up staying within the sort of 2 lines, pretty much going sideways. So actually, as far as a range, we did have some choppy parts yesterday. A lot around here, and a lot around here. But let's see how we get on today. Okay, market's due to open in about 5 minutes. So I've marked this as a channel. I've just come off these 2 swings, but I'm probably not going to take anything just at the moment, give the market a chance to open. But we'll see how we get on. But yeah, we're sort of almost coming down a little bit with a sort of downward bias, but nothing sort of set in stone at the moment. So I'm just going to watch things and see how they get on. In fact, we've got 5 minutes. I'm just going to make myself a quick cup of coffee. I will be about 3 or 4 minutes. Just bear me 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, there you go. Just grab myself a quick brew. So we got on here now. Shanters. J. Powell, send the market into a tiz. Certainly possible. Leader loser. How you doing, buddy? Speedy, how you doing, mate? What? How are you? Jacko, how you doing, Jacko? G-Money, top of the morning. Almost at a standstill. Yeah. I suppose we're down at the bottom here, and what do we do? Are we going up? Are we going down? It's hard to say. Hold on a second. I'm just going to let my dog in. It's going to start whining otherwise. Come on, Will. Quiet in here. Lie down. Come on, Wilson. Lie down. Good boy. We've got two dogs, two cockapoos. One's having an operation today, a little lump on her belly. So the little boy Wilson's quite whiny today, wondering where she is. So I've got him in the room with me, so you may hear him bark once or twice. So let's have a look. Hey Brant, how you doing? Morning, Kyle. Hope everyone is well this morning. Let's have a look. Okay, going a little bit sideways here. Yeah, market is open. I suppose people are wondering whether we're going up or we're going down. Certainly, it's a bit too early at the moment, but there certainly is sort of looks like a downward bar. I'll put that there just to see where this comes. But it's just mainly sideways at the moment. Just been browsing on YouTube at some of the footage from the earthquakes in Turkey. Shocking, terrible it is. 5,000 dead so far. Oh, that's got to be horrendous to live through that. Unbelievable. Yeah, I'm not doing anything here. We're at the bottom here. I mean, we seem to have. I've just gone off these two swings, so that possibly could be there. In which case we've had a break and come in lower, but it's hard to tell. It could be a little bit tighter. It could be something like that. We've already had a break. Could be something a bit tighter. So I just tend to go off these two swings, which leads us to somewhere around there. So looks like we've already had a break in that case and a new low. So certainly not thinking about going short, although it is giving the impression it's going lower, and it could be slowly going down, but it's too early really to start making decisions about that just yet. We have got yesterday's lows here, so whether we come down and touch around there or break there, it's hard to say at the moment. We could be just carrying on sideways, and this may have been a bit of a break at the bottom, but it's a bit early to tell yet. So it's just a matter of sitting and watching, trying to work out what's going on. I've literally just come on the chart DZT. I put that there because I've gone off the two swings. I'm not getting involved in this anyway, so. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I was watching some with Matt last night, and it concentrate on the short term stuff. There's not a great deal at the moment there, to be fair. It's been a bit bouncy. Just watching some last night trend channels. Matt, I just noticed Matt mentioned usually draw something off the first two, but there's not what I would class as generally short term stuff. Probably something here, but more this type of thing. But. What are you laughing at, Jacko? You're laughing at him, are you? DZT. I asked you yesterday to start drawing short term. So you could say that multiple ways. You could say it. I asked you yesterday to start drawing short term trend channels like Mac does to keep away from bad trades, as you seem to look for more bigger trades. I think that's the bit that Jacko's looking at, or it could be said nice and politely. I know what you're saying, mate. I know what you're saying. I haven't really seen any what I would class as really more obvious short-term trend channels. Certainly not here, really. You could say here, but I just went off those two. But I haven't marked anything before because I've only just come on, really. And but I know what you're saying. Took that long there, did you? Yeah. See, that's what I class as tops and bottoms. In other words, I'm thinking that this is the bottom. Those are the ones I'm avoiding. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, it's not sort of really. There's no second entry or anything there. I'm tending to avoiding those because I just don't have a massive amount of luck with them, to be honest with you. I mean, if I was on a demo or something like that, then obviously, you might try them a bit, but I'm just generally looking for more sort of second entries and that sort of thing. At the moment, see, based on what I can see here, we seem to be coming down, but we've had this couple of breaks. We could be pushing back into this, could be more range. So it's just hard to say at the moment. I've just put this down here because I've just picked it off this top, and I just out of interest wanting to see where it was going to come. I mean, you could just easily remove that, and we've gone sort of sideways, and it's had a couple of pushes out the bottom. So it's a bit early at the moment anyway. Yeah, we seem to have this little bit of a channel up here with a couple of legs down. Just no entry there, really. Did I go full-time trading? Well, I trade Monday to Friday on weekends to keep some income coming in. And often a Friday night as well. So 2 to 3 days a week I work. Okay, we've made that new high from this. Certainly, I'm sort of thinking down at the moment, but it's a bit early. It'd be interesting to see what happens if it gets up here. I don't know what makes it do that. I'm assuming it's something to do with the programming that makes it sort of slip to the side by itself. It's hard to say. It's getting a bit choppy and sideways. I'm wondering whether we're going to push up towards here, maybe towards the open, possibly the top of this channel. It's hard to say whether this channel sort of looks like we're working down at the moment anyway. But it is still a bit early. We've got this. There is a second entry long there, but the signal bar's naff, and we're a bit sideways, and we're on this middle line. So we may be pushing higher towards the open, but it's a bit choppy. It's a bit sideways anyway, and I certainly don't want to be going along in the middle. Signal bar's a bit naff, although it is a second entry long, but it's choppy. Down, it's up, it's down, it's up. So I'm just going to sit and watch this. See, for me at the moment, all I can see is sort of a downward bias, so that is a failure. I'm just trying to think, actually, There's probably going to be some longs there, but the EMA is really sideways. That's a failure which is triggered. I'm just going to watch this. See if that does push a bit. See if it does take them, because there is a failure and there's probably going to be some shorts in there, but it's just sideways and choppy, so it's just going to be some sitting and watching. A no trade kind of a day. Yeah, you never know. Maybe I'll go and get my hair cut. I had mine done yesterday, actually. Trouble is, he ends up being trapped out there. Second entry long there, which triggered. They're still at the moment, and there was a failure as well, which triggered and then got stopped out. Whether anybody would have gotten there, it's probably not the ideal place to get into a trade right in the middle, because you haven't really got much distance either way, really. But it's definitely going sideways. I mean, that news is what time? What was it now? 3 o'clock. 5. It's in about 2 hours, 45 minutes. I'm not. Yeah, I mean, if we get days like this where they're sideways and awkward, I have to be okay with, and I am okay with the odd day that it's just not worth taking a trade. Sometimes, well, I think you're better off not taking a trade than take something a bit, than try and force something just for the sake of you want to try and get a trade. You're going to have days where you're going to get 2 or 3 trades in the first 45 minutes. I've had plenty of them before. But then you're going to have awkward days which just aren't playing game, and I think that's the difference between someone who can be consistent and someone who can not be consistent with, having the patience just to sit there and let it carry on. You don't have to. I mean, really, we're only here to find a trade with a good, solid setup. And while it's like this, just up and down, or barbed wire, as what's her name calls it, it's just not worth getting in here, really. Because you can get sort of chopped up, really. I mean, that's proper. We sort of had it below the that midline, a lot of choppiness, and now we've got it above. But it happens, doesn't it? I've got to say, it does happen a lot lately. Whether it's just the way market conditions have been. It's hard to put your finger on it, really. I mean, I've only been trading a couple of years, I haven't had years of experience of seeing markets, and, I was chatting with a guy the other day that had been trading for quite a few years, and, he did say that it has been particularly hard to trade lately. Harder. There's a lot more sitting around waiting. And he'd been trading for about, I think, 7 or 8 years. As a full-time trader. So market conditions do change from time to time. It's probably a lot to do with the economy and with the way things been lately since COVID. Obviously, COVID put a real nail in the coffin of finances. There's certainly a lot of money that got chucked around, and governments are obviously in a lot more debt than they were pre-COVID. Oh, other way, I had somebody took, I think, 4 $50,000 accounts with my code yesterday. So whoever that was, it's much appreciated. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks very much. I think I made about $30 after that, so it's worth doing it. It certainly pays now and again. So whoever took those 4 yesterday, thanks very much. Thanks for using my code. It doesn't cost you anything. That's why I put it up there. But I'm kind of hoping they have another 80% off come Valentine's Day, which is in about a week today, actually. So don't forget to get your cards and your flowers. I'm assuming flowers are going to be through the roof this year. Everything's gone up. Everything's gone up. I paid £4 for a bottle of tomato sauce earlier. That's about $5 odd. It's horrendous. It's ridiculous, really. My daughter gets through the stuff quicker than we get through wine, I've got to say. Well, this is fun, isn't it? 1490 down here. Certainly looking bearish, isn't it? But that's why I took that off at the moment. I don't want to get see what happens over here, see if it comes down here, and then I'll put that back. Excuse me just for a minute, I'm just going to take a quick bathroom break. Excuse me for just 2 minutes. I was going to make a quick phone call. There is a second entry short there. And you could count as a failure, but it's just sidewaysy chop there. I think it looks like it's going to get stopped down anyway. Yeah, it's just sideways there. It's going to get stopped down anyway. Yeah, it's definitely very sideways, isn't it? Obviously, I'm assuming the news is probably playing a part. You would think there'd be a bit more movement. Obviously, the news is in 2 hours and 20 minutes, but you just don't know, do you? And there is a failure here, but same again. It's just risky. In fact, if I move that up there, that probably fits just as good as anything. Yeah, there is a failure off the bottom of this, but the trouble is prices look like they're starting to dip. So although you'd have got a couple of points out of it, it's just difficult at the moment. You know, you could go up there, it might go up a couple of ticks and come back down. It's just hard to say. And it is choppy, so if I'm going to take a trade, it's going to be a pretty extra special one, certainly an obvious one. Prices do look like they're dipping, so it's just risky, isn't it, really? If I just put it on the tops there. Every time it goes up, it's coming down, isn't it? So it's just hard to say. I really don't want to get into something just here. Obviously, it's not looking too bad now, but you just don't know, do you? You know, markets as well as sideways, have sort of like a bearish hint to them, in my opinion. So I'm a bit nervous about that going along, especially when we're sideways at the moment. I certainly don't want to be going along just above the tops, although it's pushed out. But Sod's Law, a second I get into them, things will change. Very choppy, isn't it? There. Same again. I expect more of the same. Yes, even if we get a bit of a break out of this, I'm just nervous about going along when I'm looking at the tops of these, getting lower and lower. The last thing I want to do is go long. Yeah. It's just hard to predict at the moment. I mean, if I had to sort of say, it's certainly working its way down in a fashion. These highs are getting lower and lower when we're getting these sort of bigger swings. So I certainly don't want to be thinking about going along here. Whether you'll get a point or two out if we break down here, it's hard to say, but I just don't want to be getting involved in this at the moment. Especially I'm getting this up nicely now. I'm over a third of the way there. Last thing I want to do is take half-hearted trades. Like I said yesterday, I'm, even if I can get one trade a day on average, that's a tidy amount. If you wait for that one great trade, and we all know if you get those really obvious trades that jump out of you, they just never seem to fail. So if you wait for that one a day and take one a day, you make yourself a great living. You times that by multiple accounts, and obviously the numbers don't lie. Just wondering whether we get another leg up here. It's just risky. If you look at this, they're getting lower and lower, and if I'm to try and think that we're going to get higher after we've done this, it's risky. I'm not to say that it's not going to, but you just can't bet your money on that, really, can you? Yeah, Fed days on the whole. I think the last one we had, it was just like this, wasn't it? So, I'm not saying we're not going to get any trades. It's just going to be, you're going to have to be, your filter's going to have to be bang on, isn't it, to pick your trades out of this lot. I mean, we may get a moment of clarity and a good setup. It's not necessarily going to be all this all day, is it? You just don't know. We may decide to take another drop down. It's hard to say. We might come up to here and then come down some more. It's just hard to say, really. But I think, if we can see one, then obviously we take it. But, well, it's like this. It doesn't really get much choppier than this, to be honest with you. It's up, down, up, down, up, down. Every time it comes down, it's coming down in different points. Every time it goes up, it's going to, the sort of, I'd say the bearish, the bias is to the downside. But that's the trouble with choppy days. It can just be unpredictable, and 1 minute we can seem like we're doing this, and then things will change. One thing we do know, we're going sideways quite messily. No, exactly. I think on days like this, I mean, look, we all know the trades, don't we? We all know those trades that jump out at us. If we get a lovely, nice trend down here, nice clear break, 2 legs up, pushes up, finish beautifully and bearish below the EMA. Trades like that just don't fail. But it's having the patience to sit through all this crap and wait for them. And that's the key. If you can do that, you're 3/4 of the way there. That's the thing. It's the patience. And if you've got the patience, you'll wait happily until you see those trades. And then when you do, you take them, it's great. It's just sometimes, patience get the better of us, and we take something that isn't, But I am a believer in when you take a trade, you have that feeling inside, don't you? And when you get a good trade, there's just no denying it, is there? You can't get you can't get your order in quick enough, can you? You know what I mean? It's like you've seen a £50 note or a $50 note stuck on the floor. You can't, you're just going to jump down there and get it on you. So that's sort of when the trades are good, they're good and they just don't fail. When you get those good trades, they just do not fail. I can't think of any time, certainly since I've, understood what good trades are, maybe the last sort of 12 months or something, I can't think of a time where I've seen a real beauty that's failed. I just can't. There's been one or two that, when I've sat back after and I've thought, yeah, I can see why maybe, but when we get those obvious ones and they just jump at you, it's like they jump out the shadows in it and wave in front of you, come and get me. And you can't, you're like this, aren't you? You can't get your order in quick enough. So it's just having the patience to wait for those, isn't it? I think once the Fed turns the money printer on, we'll start having more volume. Yeah, and hopefully more upwards. I think it's much easier. Well, I much prefer to trade a trend because a lot of the time lately, we have a lot of this sideways stuff. And it's not so much harder to trade. I mean, we know to stay out of this. It just tests your patience, and that's the problem. When your patience are tested, you tend to you drop your standards, and that's where things. Every time we come up here, these new swings. We had that break, a new height, straight back down. So I'd say at some point we're likely to break this yesterday's low. I think it's fair to say. I think there's a good chance we're going to do that. And it does look like, if you look at these bigger swings, they're definitely working down, aren't they? Basically one of those days every day. So yeah. I was chatting with someone the other day, and they went, give it some time, things start to settle down, and you'll be getting trades. You'll be the trades, you wonder what to do with them all. I'll believe that when I see it. But yeah, I got to say, when I started, things were easier. They were a lot easier. When I first downloaded this software and paid Mac, I think after about 2 or 3 weeks, we just seemed to have a lovely uptrend. And I remember Mac saying, buy at the bottom. And I was buying the bottom, and they were just working. I obviously didn't know a lot about what I was doing. And I thought to myself, this is easy. And then on the Friday, after I'd been doing it, just trading for about 2 weeks on this system, I ended up jacking me jobbing, thinking it's easy. Price was lying for a shot. Mind you, got to say, if you trade in situations that we've had lately over the last sort of 6 months, 3 months, 12 months, whatever, if you have got the patience to trade in the hard times, the easier times are going to feel like a breeze, aren't they? They're going to feel a lot more relaxing to trade. But yeah, if you can trade the tough times, everything should seem a lot less stressful. I miss the days of being done by. Yeah, they were there. I mean, when I started, I was trading 3 or 4 trades in a few hours of an evening and winning 3 out of 4 of them. And I'd only been trading this system about a month. Just goes to show how easy it was. I remember we just had this lovely. We seemed to just have lovely trends, just like this. Every time it was coming back here, big bullish bar, I was just buying it. It was working. But yeah, I mean, we don't ask for much. I think if you can get 2 solid trades a day, I think that's a great time to walk away. And if you can get those 2 a day, and maybe get to 90%. 85, 90%, you're made. You really are. And the good thing about this sort of stuff, it sort of works on your patience, doesn't it? It forces you to work in tough conditions. And you know what they say? What do they say? That's not what I'm thinking of. What is it? Train hard, fight easy, that type of thing. So if you can work in conditions like this, when things do eventually start to get back to, some form of normal or more of a stable market, things should seem a lot more enjoyable, shall we say. A lot more, the trade will be a lot more abundant. This isn't going to last forever, is it? It may last another 6 months. It may last another 3 months. It may last another year. Who knows, really? But I think, like someone said, once interest rates start to drop, like you say, the Fed and other governments will start to open up the doors a little bit and start to invest a little bit, and prices will start to stabilize. People will get more confident in the markets, and they'll start investing again. Things will start moving. Things will start to stabilize, and hopefully then we'll get back to some sort of normality. But COVID did shag it up for everybody. There's no two ways about that. I mean, I can't speak for the US, but I would say probably 50%, if not more, of the UK was sent home on 85% of their full pay paid by the government. You can't send home, I don't know, 20 million people and pay them 85% of their salary for doing nothing, just for staying at home for 4 months, 6 months. You can't do that and not have any sort of repercussions. Obviously, you think about all the money that was invested in the health service, in COVID testing, all the equipment and all the studying and, the vaccine stuff, all the money that went into the COVID crisis. It was a matter of time before it had massive, massive strains on governments. It was always going to happen. I remember literally when we had that lockdown, I remember saying to someone at work, this will be the worst financial crisis this country's ever seen. And it has been, I'd say. We have had tough time. I mean, I'm not talking pre-war. Obviously, the Second World War things were obviously very different. But since then, I can't think of another time where we've had anything like this, any type of financial. I remember the financial crisis in 2008, but nothing I've experienced has been anything like this. And obviously the trouble over here, we've got national, I think yesterday we had a massive, the National Health, massive strike. They're sort of demanding 20%. The trouble is, because prices have gone up and interest rates have gone up, people are struggling. Everyone wants higher wages, so everyone's striking. Trouble is, if you give the health service what they want, other sectors are going to go, well, we want more, and as they are. And the trouble is, money doesn't grow on trees. It's got to come from somewhere else, and all it's going to do is prolong the pain. So you need to, in my opinion, keep hold of the purse strings and keep them tight as you can until things start to stable. Obviously, when interest rates drop, we obviously don't need as much money, and people will be screaming out for pay rises a little bit less. But yeah, it's the sort of the single parents that I feel for are really going to struggle. I mean, my gas and electric bill was £360 just this month. That's like, what, $440, $440 just for a month, just for your gas and electric. Doesn't include your water or council tax, mortgages and rents and everything. Everything's gone up. Yeah, it's just choppy, isn't it? I like to think we're going down, but as soon as you start to think you're going down, we end up getting rejection like that. Yeah, that's the trouble, Sam. Things are tough. So I think it's hard to pull the trigger because you're in disbelief. You've got a good trade. You seem to get a good setup and you think someone isn't right. Someone isn't right. You get that little doubt in your back of your head, and then the great trade runs by. That's the trouble when you're seeing less and less really good setups. When they do appear, you second guess yourself, don't you? Is this real? Is this really a good setup? That's the trouble. And it does make you doubt things, and you've only got to doubt something for a couple of seconds and off the trade goes without you. So there is that side of it. You do get frightened to pull the trigger sometimes. You know, when I had a trade day before yesterday, I looked at it and I thought, why does this look so good? You know what I mean? It was that one where we had that sort of trend up. I took the trade just before I came on the stream, and it just looked a bit too good to be true, and it worked. It was a great trade, yeah. But yeah, when they do come on a lot less, you do doubt yourself for a second. But yeah, if you do get used to trading in conditions like this, when things do start to normalise and the trades start popping up, it's going to seem like Christmas. Yeah, these type of conditions do sort of teach you well, don't they? They sort of force you to be patient. Might as well put a dagger in my eyes. Maybe a bit of salt and a bit of lemon juice, but a dagger, that's a bit hard. But yeah, it is. But, you know, part of trading is patience. So this forces you to be patient, doesn't it? So, it serves a purpose in a sense. I know it's frustrating to see, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, as long as you can get a trade a day. I had one yesterday, 2 days before, so that's put me on good stead. So in really 2 days, I've made $1,000 in this account. So that's comfortably on par to do it 7 days. So, it is working, although some days we get like this, it just doesn't seem that anything's going to happen, does it? So, yeah, so we've had this, well, I wouldn't say a break and a long, so we've had a little bit of a push up and a break and a new high, and things do seem like they're coming down, but I'm just, even if that turns bearish, I'm just nervous about taking shorts. I'd just rather just stay out of this, unless get a Bobby Dazzler or something, but at the moment, things seem to be sort of bouncing, apart from that little bit under this, in this bottom section of this range, but it's just too risky, isn't it? Trouble is, by the time that pushes down below here to take a short, you're down here. You don't want to be going to short in that, do you? Because, you've only literally got 2 points if you're lucky. Well, if all you've got is 2 points to play with, you haven't got a lot of room for error. Just wondering whether we are working our way to here. I mean, it's not really confirmed as such, although it does touch here and it does touch here. And it fits relatively nicely here, so it'll be interesting to see what happens when we meet here. But I expected something, and we do say when you get a sort of a bit of correction, I was listening to Max saying it lasts about an hour. But who knows? Let's just get rid of that a minute and pop this in. Just out of interest to see where it comes. Oh yeah, that's the frustrating thing is we'll sit here all day, struggle to get one, and Mac will have about a dozen splattered all over there. The thing is, I mean, it's definitely easier after the fact, isn't it? You could go, well, there you go, there's a failure there, although it was right congested, but it worked. You know, you could say that's the trouble. You could say, there you go, I'll take that one, you know, break. Yeah, that's the trouble. I mean, we can sit here as we're sat live in this market, and there's nothing really that I can see apart from risky trade. But the trouble is, it's, you know, it's going between a tight margin, isn't it? And you haven't really got a lot of room forever, so it's bordering on gambling, really, if you take something here, unless you really know what you're doing and you're very experienced. You know, if you've been trading the markets 20 years, you may know if you have a few tricks up your sleeve. You know what I mean? If you've been watching this market year after year, then you know. See, there's a failure there, but do you really want to be going along there? I'm just wondering. See that there? It's a second entry short. As this is sort of playing along this top line with the midline, I'm not going to take anything here, but it's just interesting to say where I mentioned it's just sort of pushing along this section in. We've had a second entry short, which is triggered, but it's stopped out. But I thought there may have been a few in there, but it's just ticked up and nothing's really happened. But I certainly wouldn't really want to be going short here. Long here, sorry. There's not exactly a lot of room, is there? At the moment, it's all below here, so it's risky. That is, it'd be just a poor trade, I think. Yeah, hindsight's amazing, isn't it? You know, I wish we could all have tomorrow's chart today. Man, wouldn't that be good? You might take that trade. Yeah, I'm starting to learn my lesson when we get days like this to stay out, because it's much nicer to spend your evening knowing you're zero. Now, we're all here to make money, aren't we? But much better to go home on zero. I'd much rather go up 10 times nicer to go home on zero than take a stupid trade and go home $400 down. You know, there's no shame in that, is there? If you go home on zero and you haven't taken a trade, that says to me you're a patient trader, because if you've managed to sit there for a few hours and not taking a trade, you know, I'm not saying you may have missed something, but you've done the right thing. And I think that's key. It's knowing, and you know, most of the time you'd always get something, but when you do have days that mess around like this, and let's face it, it's pretty unpredictable. That, you know, you might have guessed that when it comes up here it was going down and that, but just trying to get into a setup there, especially with the tight margins that we trade, there's just no room for error, is there? And it's just not sensible to, and it does test your patience. But if you can manage to learn to hold on to your patience through times like this, you're heading in the right direction, in my opinion. If I was doing evals, I wouldn't be trading this. I've learned my lesson. Yeah, I mean, I'm here because, one, I'm streaming, and two, I mean, it may start to get up here, and it may start to push down quite nicely, but I think it's a good test of your patience to be able to sit through this. Fortunately, I've got you guys to chat with, so if I was sat here boring by myself, then yeah, it might be a nice way to go off and have some lunch, go out and have some lunch somewhere, enjoy your day. I mean, at the moment, it's pretty cold outside, but during the summer, when we get days like this, it might be nice to put a pair of shorts and a t-shirt on and go out and sunbathe in the garden with a beer. But at the moment, with, you know, weather conditions, you know, being winter and all that, but as temperatures rise, there's a lot more to do, isn't there? And that's the beauty of being a trader. You can go off and relax in a day after a couple of days' work, or when we get days like this, and go and enjoy your day. Not everyone's got that luxury, so be interesting to see what happens when it meets this. Just wondering whether anybody else will. I'd say there's probably going to be some traders sort of marking off this obviously first and this second big swing, but it's certainly stopped there, as you would expect if you've marked this channel. So it'd be interesting to see what we get here, whether we do get any downward movement, but just out of curiosity more than anything. But I'm quite happy sitting watching and chatting at the moment. In fact, I'm just I'll tell you what, I'm going to go make myself a quick coffee. I'll be back in about 3 minutes. Nothing's going on. I might as well go and do something. 3 minutes. I'm back. Oh, where's that come from? You're going to call out a Jacko? You coward. Yeah. I mean, it may sort itself out. How long been trading? I've only been trading an hour and a half. You never know. Might work its way up to here and start moving down. It's hard to say at the moment, but you never know. I don't mind sitting here because it's a good lesson in patience. I don't mind. I don't mind. Yeah, well, I'm sat here. I'm not taking any trades. I'm quite happy. I'm quite chatting away. I'm not feeling the urge to get in. I'm quite happy that I'm sat here and I'm not getting the urge to trade, because obviously you've got to learn to sit through this, because obviously we know the last sort of hour and a half has just been sideways, but it might have gone like this and then may walk down. But sometimes you feel you sit here a bit longer. If I could turn back the clock and realise I'd have been sat here for 2 hours or 2.5 hours without trading, then it's in hindsight you can say to walk away. But part of it is patience, and I'm not getting the urge to trade, and I'm watching and learning, and so it actually forms at this point. I won't have the confidence in it. Yeah, I've never had the problem to not take trades. I think I sort of on the contrary, I think I'm more the other way. I think that's my problem, but. Yeah, I'm quite happy sat here at the moment. I'd just be interested to see what happens when we hit this, whether we start to move down. But sort of looks like 2 pushes up. Well, there's a little bit of a sort of a trend there, if you like, isn't there? Yeah, there's a bit of a trend there. I'd like to think it would go down here, but who knows? I'm certainly not getting involved in this. Even if we have a break, I'm not. I'm thinking down at the moment. The last thing I want to do is break and go long into that lot. So, just out of curiosity. You took a failed second entry yesterday. However, we already had 2 legs down. You didn't explain why you took it. I didn't realise I needed to, did I? A failed second entry. I can't remember where it was now. I don't think this is going to show me, is it? Have a look. Other traders took it. There was some others. Let me have a look. Let me have a look. That was the one there yesterday. That was the one yesterday, I think. Just take this over. That one there, I think. Why did I take it? I took a failed second entry long yesterday. However, we already had 2 legs down. Well, we're in a trend, aren't we? There, yeah. Because we had 2 legs down doesn't necessarily mean we're not going to continue down. Obviously did. See, what I'm seeing there for starters is a second entry long here, but the EMA's facing down, and that one popped up. But I put an order down there to see if it had taken. It did. There was quite a few took that one yesterday, so trade looked the right to me. Carried on down. You know. Somewhere else there that took it. That same one. Same again. Looked as a trade looked all right to me. I don't know if Mac took it. I haven't seen Mac yet, actually. Okay, so we've had this trend. We've had a break out of it, but I don't really want to go long. I'm not saying we have got a downtrend, but mind you, we have pushed above. We have bounced that midline, but we're at the top, coming towards the top of this range. So I think it's risky unless we get something amazing. But it has respected there quite nice, and same with the tops as well. So I'd say it's a clear range, but I just tend to get extra cautious at the moment. There's a new low there, so that's a first entry. That one gets beaten by that one, so that's a first entry. So it's. I mean, if you got a second entry there and it was a good signal bar, then I may consider riding it, but just it'd have to be something good, and I just don't think it's going to happen. Yeah, I think a lot of the time, Brant, and I know this for a fact. Sometimes if I've taken, say, a lovely bearish bar off here, and I reload my market data, sometimes I did it the other day. It was a bullish bar, bullish bar, and then it turned more into a doji. So, yeah, people can. I tend to think Marco is a little bit stricter, I think. So that's probably why Mac put it. Well, if you look on Mac's chart, to be honest, he puts anything, doesn't he, really? Anything that resembles a trade. He puts it, so I don't know, some do, some don't. I think Thomas Wade would take a little bit more of a risky trade. So, yeah, it just goes to show, doesn't it? I mean, he might have been away from the chart just, during that bit of time. That's always a possibility. So let's have a look at this. I haven't quite got that there, have I? Let's bring that down so it touches. It touches now. So look at that. Look. See what I mean? There's going to be traders who have put their top of the chart there and picked that swing high. Look at that. In fact, that's not quite at the top there. I could take that down a tiny touch to there. Look at that one. Perfect. Rejection. So there's traders thinking, it's almost definitely. I said it'd be interesting to see what happens when it gets to this line, and look at that, it's dropped about 6-7 points quickly. So they're obviously traders thinking I'm going to sell it when it gets to here. So that's why I put these on, because it's just interesting to see how I'm viewing the market that other traders are going to. So not necessarily. Am I that far behind? We had a range day yesterday, so that makes that things can be a bit different on a range day. I did think it may sort of drop when it gets to here. I mean, nothing's set in stone, is it? Yeah, you've still got to use your noodle as well, haven't you? See, ultimately, we're following these rules, but what we not got to remember is we're thinking about human behaviour. See, I put these two swings here. Now, that really isn't a setup. So why, in the middle of an uptrend, has someone just gone long? They've gone long because there are going to be a lot of traders looking at that thinking, look where we are now. Let's sell. And that's what they've done. So even though we've got, in my opinion, a clear trend. It's fitting tops and bottoms beautifully there. Starts here, fits lovely. As soon as we get to this line, and that's where the sort of human behaviour gets in, they're going to be saying, that's why I marked that. I said it'd be interesting to see what happens when we get to there. And as soon as we've hit that, bam, it's dropped. Because people are going to be thinking exactly the same thing as me. Oh, look what's happened. So, as well as waiting for setups, markets often move as well due to human behavior. People will be thinking, oh, well, I ain't going along here, and traders going to be thinking, well, does it make sense to sell there? One, we're at the top of this range, if you like it. Two, we've come up to where this fits in this down channel. So, and that's exactly what's happened. It's hesitated a touch at the EMA and then continued down. So there's two legs there. So we may get a retest here and drop down, but I'm still thinking it's coming down. Or it may push up indeed and break that high. To here, it's just, we have these rules, but they're not set in stone. They're not 100%, and sometimes things happen, especially when you get. That's the trouble with trading. A lot of this chop, a lot of the rules, because it's sideways. Even a good-looking trade can just not operate how they usually do because there's a lot of uncertainty. And I mean, someone's obviously trading, but you could be trading on longer time frames than this, shorter time frames. So, what we don't want to be thinking is we're the only people trading on a 2000 tick. So obviously this market is operating based on larger time frames and shorter time frames than that. So. And there'll always be gaps in your knowledge. We all learn at different levels. You might read a bit that might stick in your head a bit than part than me. We all learn at different levels. You might be more interested in a certain aspect of trading. I might be more interested in another aspect of trading, but based on the same PAT system. And there are going to be gaps in our knowledge. There'll be bits that I've missed or bits that I didn't read enough into and bits that you read more into. They're going to be more clearer for you. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, isn't it? You could have, it's okay selling there, but our way of thinking is, well, look at that. Do you want to be selling at this? You know what I mean? But obviously someone has, but I'd say their decision's based on what we're looking at here, because that's human behaviour. There'll be other traders putting that down there and thinking, oh, we're coming into here. Do I want to be buying? Well, not really. We've had this trend up. So the buyers are going to lose confidence there, and obviously then the amount of sellers take over and brings it down quickly to the EMA and then stalls a little bit. Because obviously the EMA is, people tend to think, well, are we going up or are we going down? And then obviously a lack of longs, thinking there's not that much to the top. We've already respected this, so I'd say we're coming down. So it's just that balance of thinking, isn't it? The buyers against the sellers. There's certainly going to be a lot more sellers around here than buyers. Obviously the bottom, there's going to be more buyers than sellers. But it's just having that sort of common sense, I suppose, to think what's more likely going to happen here. What time is it anyway? He's not on for a while, is he? Hour and 35 minutes. Just wondering, actually, sometimes are you better off trading after? Give things time to sort of, do what they got to do for a bit and then coming in maybe for an hour after. It's hard to say, isn't it? That might be the better time to trade it. Give it time to sort of flip its lid and do its stuff and then settle out and get back to where it may have been. But at the moment, yeah, there'll be a lot of people. I mean, there's not a huge amount of volume, is there? And what little volume is, apart from these two pushes down, has been sideways. Obviously, the smaller window from top to bottom there's a lot less room for error, isn't there? And it's a lot harder to read, and it doesn't sort of operate how you would expect it to operate. So there's one leg down and pull back. I'd say there's a chance there's going to be another leg down here, because there's probably going to be more traders thinking we're likely to go short, but you just don't know. That's why it's best to stay out. Let's see if we get another push up here and then another low. You could call that a second entry short, depending on how it finishes, but because it's so choppy, it does make it more risky. If this doesn't break above here and comes down bearish, you could say that's a second entry short and a failure, so that you would think it would come down a bit lower. But look, someone's buying there. I mean, if this does come down very bearish, it might not be a terrible trade to try and run it down, but at the moment, you just don't know. See, we may, it's feasible that we could come up here and have a new high and maybe go for the top of this. It's hard to say. I got talking to, I was chatting to Marco yesterday about that trade I went to take. Panda took that one as well. Where was it? Oh, it does show that. Panda took it. Where was it? There. See, I drew that trend channel. I think everybody else did it. That was it. Excuse me a sec. Yeah, sorry. It's sideways here, but let me just have a quick flick while it's doing a minute. So I got a little bit of a. Okay, I'll come back to that. We're having another push up to here, so let's see what happens. But these are the ones I don't want to pick tops and bottoms. I'd rather have a second entry, take my second entries at the EMA. So be interested to see whether we touch here or we go for a new high. But that's sort of almost like one leg, two leg down, sort of two legs down, that is. And then a couple of pushes up. Be interested to see whether it loses confidence here or whether it pushes up for a new high. Yes, if this comes bearish, these are the ones I'm leaving alone because I just don't have luck with. And we all have strengths and weaknesses, and that's a weakness of mine. So it's just something I'm letting go. Even if it comes up here, breaks out, finishes bearish, just not interested in me. Wow, look at that. There's a gap that has, look. I'd say there was some shorts there, possibly there. The way that's just pushed straight through strongly. So it doesn't often do that, see, does it? So this is where the market opens. So yeah, you don't often see that, do you? Where's that going to finish? Yeah, that's clearly pushed through that. That has strong. That has, look at that. Literally jumped. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, it's obviously some shorts here somewhere. So this was the open. So Yeah, there was clearly some shorts in there. So when it pushed up from here and then possibly above here, that added a little bit of fuel to the fire. May have been some there. Expecting it to push down, go sideways and push down some more, possibly. Who knows? I'll let that run itself. So yeah, basically yesterday, I had a chat with Marco about this yesterday. See, I drew that, and I think everybody else did. And I drew a short-term trend channel down here, and I went to take that long. Fortunately, it kicked me out. And I was chatting with Marco about that they'd drawn the trend. And he said, well, his advice was that, yeah, the trend was there, but unless it's a shorter, tighter trend, these smaller ones would take precedence. So hence, we've had a break, 2 legs up, big bearish bar to go low. Now, if it had been a tighter trend, he obviously wouldn't have done that. So these are just things, you know, we all have gaps in our knowledge, don't we? We have things that we forget. But yeah, we've had a couple of legs up there. But I think everybody drew that trend because it was clearly there. And obviously, fortunately, I got stopped out. Mine never triggered, but I know the Panda guy got caught in that, and I'm guessing a few others as well because they're naturally thinking. I had that drawn as a small channel. We had a break and a new low, but in trend channels that aren't as tight and a little bit wider, the more sort of shorter term ones sort of take precedent. But I just saw it come back to here, tick here again, bullish. So I had mine focused on sort of going up. We'll live and learn, you know. But I am trying to focus more on the shorter term trends. To help sort of work out what's going on. Obviously, as well as the overall trends to sort of give me ideas on where I think markets are going to turn and where there might be, a possibility for a trade. Yeah, there were some shorts in there, quite likely there, whether they'd had their stops above there or not. But there, we had that real jump, didn't we? I wasn't quite expecting that strong movement. Obviously, there were some shorts there because obviously they sold that off, but then it reversed quick, didn't it? I suppose a lot of them are thinking we're coming down to here, maybe down to here, maybe even lower. I mean, if they're selling that, they're obviously got the line drawn like this, so they're thinking downward. But it is what it is. Obviously, then we had this trend here, this channel here, and obviously a couple of breaks. Generally expect a new high, but I never quite expected it to be that sort of erratic. But, you know, the longer you sit here, you notice all these things, don't you? And you know what they say, screen time is the best medicine for learning this stuff. Yeah, I have got a feeling it's going to be a lot more of this up until this news. I'm just wondering whether it's your best to come back maybe after the news and have a look. Certainly be more going on, I'm thinking. Give it time to sort itself out. I think Max says usually he sort of puts an area of around an hour before and maybe, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes after. Depends what happens if the news, you know, sometimes the news is volatile, isn't it? But, you know, sometimes he just doesn't really give much away, does he? Keeps it close to his chest and not a lot happens. So. Yes, there'll be some shorts in there, and I dare say there's probably going to be some short trap because that triggered. So we got that push down. I suppose a lot thought another push down, maybe to here or maybe to here. So there'll be some shorts there, possibly maybe here, maybe even here. I don't know. You know, coming from here, it's hard to say, but there's obviously some shorts in there which cause that quick spike. But it's just barbed wire-ish now, is it? That's what what's the name says. Sort of stems either side, wicks either side. Exactly right, yeah. That's what I mentioned earlier. See, a lot of this, people are obviously trading because they're not just like us sitting trading the 2000 tick chart. There's the 5-minute chart, there's the hour chart, there's the daily chart, there's all sorts of different charts. There'll be some swing trades, maybe taking their profits or whatever in here. So there's all sorts of different, 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute, 30 minute, hourly, 2 hourly, 4 hourly, daily. There's all sorts of different trades in here. We just see this, so it's, a lot of this won't just be to do with what we're seeing now. Stephen, how you doing, Stephen? This is, you're probably using something like this, aren't you? Which is a bit more of a pain in the arse. Where is it? Trend channel. Yeah, you're using that, I'm assuming, aren't you? It is a bit, it takes a bit of getting used to that. It's a bit of a pain in the arse. This, mine up here, this is a little bit easier to use. This is from Max, priceactiontradingsystem.com. It's Max System. This is part of an add-on. It comes under the umbrella of this, I think. Or is it the tools? Oh, no, Pat's Tools. Price Action Trading System. So depending on what system you're trading, that I think most of us are trading here is a Max System, Price Action Trading System.com. And these are just a few of the little, we get things like this, the economic news, and other little bits and pieces here as well. These are just add-ons, but being part of his group. But if you are interested, incidentally, he charges $125, $125, for a year. So I don't know what you trade or whether you're new, but this is Pat's system or Mac's system that we're trading. And yeah, if you are interested, I'm no affiliate to him. It's just something I've done myself, and a lot of us have. It's $125 for a year, and I'm yet to find a trading system which teaches you to trade that charges you just so little. I got to say, for instance, just the Gorilla guy I mentioned earlier, if you want to watch him trade, I think it costs $100 per month. So there's all sorts of courses out there. I know a friend of mine did the Warrior system from Warrior Trading, paid about $2,500 for that course. So $125 for a year is peanuts, it really is. But yeah, those tools there, and I think maybe that, I don't know. But those tools there are part of Mac's system, and they're available free as just add-ons, really, amongst other things as well, things like the news and a bunch of other things. Haven't quite ticked this open, although we have sort of moved within that. Obviously, bars open when they go green, they push up. When they go red, they push down. So that's where it actually opened there. So it has sort of come within the walls of that one bar there. So then maybe we are going to push down. It's hard to say. Certainly not something I'm going to get involved in this. I'm just going to let it run, whatever it's going to do. We have had a new high, try to go once. It pushes down. It's possible. even if you want to take a failure, it is highly possible it may push back up into it as a failed breakout. So, but it is volatile at the moment. I wasn't expecting such a strong move up, and if it did hit here, then I thought it may have come down just as quick. But yeah, it ain't necessarily so. Does it look easy to use? Okay, does it look easy to use? When you say it's easy to use, you mean these tools, or you mean the system? If it's I would have thought you meant the tools. They're pretty straightforward. But the system, Mac system, he teaches you all this sort of stuff if that's what you mean. But if you go onto his website, it's $125 for the year, and he's got dozens and dozens of videos on trend channels, range channels, ranges, second entries, failures, higher lows, lower, all sorts of stuff. The tools, yeah, they're pretty straightforward, mate. It's just those, really. Yeah, they're pretty straightforward. There's your range lines. You got your if you want to measure something, a trade or something. You got shows you plots where you've taken your trades. I haven't taken any here, so it doesn't show me there. It just gives you information about that. Tells you where you opened them, where you closed them. There's a writing tool there for, you know, if you're just marking up your trades, it's all done for you. You can have a little note. That's if you want to get rid of stuff like that. That's obviously your bin. You got your measured move if you want to measure, you know, a couple of legs, and so on. That's your line. Yeah, it's all pretty self-explanatory, and that all comes as part of it. It's just the add-on tools, and you can get the news as well, which obviously gives you the daily news in 3 formats: high impact, medium impact, and low impact, and it tells you roughly what it is and what it is and what it's based on. Obviously, the Federal Reserve is based on the US news, so there's different other things that you can use. Usually, see your tick counters down the bottom, but it enables you to put a tick counter next to it. So as you're deciding whether to go for a trade, you know how many trades are left within that particular bar. This tells you what the previous bar is. This tells you what this is. So, yeah, it's all part of his package. But it's $120 a year, so it's incredibly cheap. Okay, there is a possible second entry long there, but do I want to go long there? I don't know. Are we moving back here? Are we? It's hard to say, isn't it, really? I think it's risky going along there, certainly for me. It's hard to say at the moment. We have sort of stalled here out in the open, so I don't know whether we're going up or down. I couldn't tell you at the moment. When I had this sideways stuff, I'm thinking a downward bias, and maybe it will come down. It's hard to say, but I'd rather just sit and watch here. I'm not confident about going long into that. It's not a massive window. It's only about 4 points. There's not much room in there for error, really. And yeah, it's definitely been a tough day, and it's obviously to do with the news. To your PA, that's a good question, Albert. What do you think happened to my PA? I got it up nice, actually. I got it up really nice. I think I got it up to, it was about $7,400, but it just showed 5.4 because it had the $2,000 payment I took. I came in a little bit too confident one day, picked a couple of tops, got stopped out, and just went from bad to worse. Instead of keeping a rule of a 2-loss rule in there, I carried on trading. Had a big losing day of $2,300, and that just screwed my head up. Next day was $1,900. I was just on a downward spiral. In hindsight, what I should have done was, when I'm on the PA account especially, if I do 2 losses, if I take 2 losses within any day or trading session, I need to walk away because something's not right. Because because it's not the normal really. If you're only taking 2 to 3 trades a day to have 2 losses, something's not right. Either your move's not right, you're not reading the market right, it's a bit choppy, your patience are a bit short. But I carried on trading, big mistake. If I walked away at minus 2 losses, which is about $700, I'd have probably been here to tell the tale. But it happens. Just because you get a PA account and make a bit of money doesn't mean it's plain sailing. Things are always going to be as tough. You're always going to have to keep your standards high and take those best trades. Sometimes success can be detrimental at times. You can get a little bit too overconfident. So that's it in a nutshell. 2-3 points on a set. Well, it depends. Obviously depends what sort of trade it is and what sort of wind. If I was to take a short here, I'd obviously try and run it down. But I trade like, I don't know if you've seen not the panda guy, the gorilla guy. He takes his trades very similar to me. So let's say he's taking a short here, he'll bring his take profit down and just ride as much points as he can out of it. So if we're coming down to maybe an area, that it's he'll sort of bring it down, and when we reach it, then he'll drop a stop in. But he trades similar to me, just to try and squeeze as much as you can out of a trade, because sometimes you'll get a few points, and sometimes if you're a little bit, willing to give it a little bit of breathing space, you may get a lot more. But I don't tend to like fixed. I tend to get more money out of the market on the winning trades I do. I get a little bit more than sort of 3 points, but I like 1-to-1. I also like what Taylor does. He takes a flat 4 points. So I always try to get a minimum 1-to-1. So if the market gets to about 3 to 4 points, I'll usually bring my stop down and drop it somewhere. So I know I'm going to get 3 points at least out of it. And then hopefully if things get lucky and I get a bit more, then happy days. There is a new high. We've had this sort of short-term trend channel. We've had a break at a new high, trying to go once, trying to go twice. Trouble is, it's just hard to say at the moment, even if that comes bearish, because, you just don't know what's going to happen. It's closed outside just a little bit, and that's a second entry long, but I'm just not happy about going long into that lot where we've had that push out, because I still had this thing that the market's slightly on the bearish side, but things may change, so I certainly don't want to take a long there. We did come up and respect this line, and obviously that sold off a little bit, but then when we tried to break higher, as it pushed above there, it had a quick leap and made a bit of a gap there. That's how quick it moved. So it's just unpredictable. I wasn't expecting that, so I don't know what it's going to do. So I'm quite happy to test my patience. My patience feel quite good today. I feel quite calm. But this is a lot of it sitting there, and you've got to be prepared. It's part of trading. You've got to be prepared. So when it happens occasionally, I'm quite happy to do it, because you've got to do it. It's part of it. So when we do get days like this, rather than just walk away and go, there's no point in trading, I'm quite happy sitting and just watching and learning and working on those patience. Would I stick to 2 to 3 points on a slower day? It's hard to say, mate. It's a judgment call, really. Depends on where the trade is and how much room I've got to the lows or highs. But I'm happy getting it. If sometimes I'll get 2 points, then so be it. But I like to try and get as much as I can, because often when you see these trades and people trade 1 point or 2 points, or some trade 1-to-1, quite often goes a lot lower. What I'm definitely not a fan of now is a 1 point. I think those days are over, personally. I think if you look at people who trade, I can't see now why people would want to trade 1 point anymore. Hey up, mate. How you doing, Sam? You're back just taking 2 point scalps, are you? Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to say, isn't it, mate? You've got to do what feels right for you. But what I did, and what I tend to do, is look at the guys who put their charts, the more experienced guys, and look where they take their trades. And see, there used to be a guy that traded on our channel. I don't know whether he does or not. Did have a chat with him today, Daniel. He helped me a lot. And I look back, he used to post his chart every day, and I look back on his chart every day for the last 10 trading days, 2 weeks, when I moved from 1 point to 2, and I looked at every one of his trades and the slightly higher risk ones, and every single one, I think there was 35 trades he'd marked, every single one of those trades made 2 points at least. So then moving from 1 point to 2 point was a no-brainer for me. If you're doubling your profit 35 times and it just doesn't, even if it happens every one in 3, even if it fails 1 in 3, you're doubling your profit. It's still worth doing. So 35 trades with 2 points or more was a no-brainer. And then obviously I see people like the Penguin guy and who's the other guy? Taylor. He takes a flat 4. Quite a few people take 1-to-1 now. I know the Penguin guy takes 1-to-1 minimum. I know the Gorilla guy, I think he goes for at least 5 or 6 points. So there is a lot more available in the market. So sticking to a fixed 2 for me, even if I had 1 fail in 3, if I was doubling it, it's hard to say. It's taking 2 points. Yeah, that's a quick question. How do you add up the second leg? How do you add the second legs drawn to the chart? Oh, that there. That's part of Mac's system as well. I don't know whether it comes in here. But I think what a lot of the guys do is just use, do they use the arrow tool or the ray tool? Let's have a look at this. They'll probably do something like this. Draw that and then just copy paste it. I think that's what, copy and paste it. I think that's what some of them. What's going on here? I think I've done it right on, haven't I? Hold on a minute. Check I'm not missing nothing. Okay, let's start again. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. If you just copy and paste it. Oh, I didn't realise that doesn't move. Okay. Forget I did that. I don't know why that hasn't worked. It won't. The whole thing won't move for some reason. That's strange. Okay. The ray tool. Oh, flipping hell. We'll get it. We'll work it out in the end. One of them does, and one of them's just like a line tool. Where is it? Is that one? Nope. There is something in here you can just use. Is it the vertical line? I don't know. No. You get what I'm trying to do anyway. You just put a line here like that and just right click, copy and paste it and move it over into position. I think that's what Thomas Wade does. He doesn't have this on his chart, Thomas Wade. I wasn't expecting that. So, was that a downtrend? Yeah, possibly. I think we can sort of fade that into the background a little bit now. And think back on the lines of a range day. In fact, let's get rid of it completely at the moment. We have had 2 pushes. Well, we'll come back into it, and I don't know, but let's have a look. We've had this. You could count that as a push-up and a push-up, but I'm just going from here, push-up, sideways, push-up, see where this ends. But we may end up now going back into a bit of a range, so what I'm going to do is put that back in there to there, I'd say. Let's make that a different colour. Yeah, certainly looks like we're sort of more rangy now. I'm not saying it's going to come back in that, but There's the open. That's the high of the day, but I can get rid of that now, can't I? Because I'm using this now. There is a gap up here from yesterday, so it is possible it could fill that, and that the one above it, that's where the gap started and finished. We didn't get up there, and that is just yesterday's high. So I'm not saying I'm going to move up. I'm going to call it a day. Yeah, you take it easy, bud. I'm sat here quite happily actually, but I feel good about sat here just watching because it's exercising my patience muscle. So yeah, have a good one, mate. Have a good one. Chad, measured move of a smaller range. Yeah, it's just hard to say at the moment, isn't it? I think I did that, and I think I did that earlier and got rid of it when it went up. Yeah, I did that earlier. It's actually surpassed that now. So I've just done that. So whether that'll work or not, hard to say. What time is it now? So we've got about an hour. You have the line lock unchecked. Okay. Let's have a look. There we go. There we go. Okay. So yeah, this is a way you can use it if you want to say, let's say do this one. You can just do this. It's an option if you don't have this. So you know what I'm saying, don't you? You can move that like that, and then just right click, copy and paste. There you go. That one's the same, isn't it? Let's have a look. There we go. That's what I was basically going to do like that. So you've got the option to do that if you don't, because if that's all you want and you can already trade, I certainly wouldn't pay max system, but that's what you can do. It just gives you the same outcome. But obviously we have this tool, so it does make life easy if you want to do something like that. It just pops the other one straight up, so you can just move them like that, and you can adjust them however you want. So they're useful. Make for sort of quick stuff anyway. Oh dear me. There is some congestion around here. A little bit here, a little bit here, which might be why it's stalling a little bit. Let's have a look. Yeah, sort of around about there, isn't there? That's what I was looking for. Yeah, there's some congestion here and a little bit here. Oh, you off, are you? Who are you saying bye to? Are you off, are you? Oh, is that what you meant? Sorry, Sam. Couldn't get used to one-to-one. It's defo trade preference. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Is he Scottish? Maybe. I've seen him somewhere. Who are you on about, mate? Who are you on about, Sam? Is he Scottish? Maybe I've seen him somewhere. Oh, someone asked you something of the bud. Yeah, it's a preference. All I'd say do, mate, is when you take your trades and just make a note of how far they went, and that'll sort of... But yeah, it's not for everybody, is it? It's not for everyone. Yeah, just look at your trades. I think the trade makes a difference as well. I mean, if you get a real beauty, that I had a chat with someone once, and they said the real good trades will move a good distance. So yeah, it depends on the trade, how much room there is really. I mean, if you took a trade here and you were expecting to get down here, obviously it'd be worthwhile, wouldn't it? But I'll tell you what to do, mate. Have a watch of the. Have you seen the? This is for Sam. Have you seen the gorilla guy? Let me just find him. The only thing is, he charges $100. Well, I think it's $99 to watch him trade live. But just watch some of his videos. He's been trading about 6 years as a consistent trader. But I like him. I like his attitude. It's just watch him, see what you think. Let me find him. You might have already seen him. Where is he? Gorilla Price Action, it's called. Gorilla Price Action. Just watch some of his videos and just get a feel for what he's done. But I like his attitude. He's quite a very chilled out, quite a calm guy. And he goes for, I think, 5 points minimum. And a lot of times he gets some good points. I watched him a trade, got 19 points, another one got 15. So he does similar to me. He just takes his profit up and just tries to squeeze as much as he can off the... Obviously, when we get to about the 3.5, 4 points, I tend to drop my stop. I don't give it as much room. That's just lack of experience and confidence. But that may change with time. But it's like he showed a trade yesterday. And what he did is he was expecting the market to stall. Now, I think there was something like that. There was 3 or 4 bars, and what he did, he took a limit order right down here. He was expecting it to go up, and he took a limit order right down there and risked, I think, 1 point. But obviously, there was no proper setup. But you could kind of guess we were at the bottom of there, and it ended up getting up. And I think he took 15 points out of it. I think. Can't remember, but just have a look. But yeah, he sort of, we know if we're sort of trading a range, then you come down here, we're looking for a setup. But what he did, he let it push below and he took it about here. And the setup wasn't good, but his point was he was only risking a point and it ended up going right up. So he's quite good. He believes that, trading, there's an element of risk, and sometimes if you're pretty sure something's going to bounce off, and there might not be a setup, it might be an option just to maybe wait till it gets down here and just click buy and just see if you risk a point or 3/4 of a point and just try and get a bit lucky. But obviously with experience, obviously that comes down to experience. Denies that he was a student of Mac. Well, he told me that he was a student of Al Brooks. So I don't know. I think Mac was a student of Al Brooks, I think. So from what I believe. So he does trade more like Al Brooks, because what he was saying, there was another thing he said about Al Brooks. The market was going up one day like this. And apparently Al Brooks, let's find something like this. Al Brooks says when the market's moving in one direction and there's lots of very small bars, take any second entry you can, or every second entry you can. Sometimes we get those days where there's loads of little bars sort of coming down at that sort of angle, and it just seems to go on. And when you realise what's happened, it's made 60 or 80 points, and it's come all the way down, all the way up. And he said what Al Brooks says is when you get days like this, where there's lots of little small bars going sideways but down, take every second entry, even if it's not a perfect setup. And he did that and made 90. He took one that was quite a bit away, and I wouldn't have taken it. He made 19 points out of it. So it's experience, isn't it? So yeah, but I was aware he learnt from Albrook's, but Albrook's, Mac, I think they're all very similar. Albrook's tends to trade that way. I think he tends to swing a lot more of them, doesn't he? But Mac does as well. I think Mac still takes his points and then tries to make most of his money on the swings. So I don't know. You don't know, do you? But I know he said he'd been trading, I think, for 6 years, he said. But you can clearly see here it's his live account. And I watched a couple of trades. He was trading 10 contracts and he got 4 or 6,000 or something on a trade in another one. So he obviously makes some good money out of it. But he did have an offer that you could watch him trade for free for a week. And I clicked the link and I got a message saying that had run out of date. So, because to be honest with you, if he trades as good as it looks, I think he'll get a lot of people copying him, which I don't think is a good idea in my opinion. It's okay copying someone, but if they ever stop doing the stream, you're sort of bugging, aren't you? But you got to pay $100 a month. But if it was free to watch him, I'd say don't bother with me, watch him, because I'd probably be doing it. But I'm not doing this channel to make money out of YouTube. I'm not really bothered how many subscribers I get, or I'm not doing this to make money. This is purely a platform for me to be more accountable and just to chat with other people. It's just a platform to mix with other people, really. And obviously, if I'm trading and people are watching, I'm less likely to do something stupid. That was my thoughts. Shows most of his trade after the entry, after his entry. Rarely takes any live. Yeah, but you can. I think part of the reason why he does it is because he charges $99 to watch him, and I think he trades on a Zoom call, so you can watch him in real time. But obviously it's $100 a month, isn't it? But he's probably going to have some traders there copying him. But he does take slightly riskier trades. And he takes more trades and slightly riskier. In a lot of cases, if he's going long, he may take something like that. Obviously, you could, let's say we've had a break. He would take a signal bar like that that's below the EMA or a little bit less risky. If he believes it's going to go up, he'll take that risk because he believes taking a risk like that to capture a move like that is worth it. And in a lot of cases, it may be. If you're capturing larger movements, you generally wouldn't have a higher. You wouldn't have as high win rate. If you're capturing a point or 2 points, and you're careful with your trades, you can work on 90% plus. But obviously, if he's taking highly riskier trades, and maybe he's working on 60, 65 to 70%. But if he's taking 5 points plus on every trade, then it's obviously worth it. It's obviously worth it. Captain Kirk is a student, if he is. Oh, is he really? Yeah, I like the guy. I like the way he comes over. He does a couple of videos about the psychology side, so I kind of like him. He's confident in what he does. There's also, he's quite a character, I think. I did watch him live. He shuts his stream down and then comes back saying he's just had a winner. That's a bit strange, isn't it? I wouldn't be happy if I'm paying $99 and he shuts the stream down. If I'm paying $99, I want to watch everything live. But I don't think he trades for long, does he? I think he mentioned he only does about an hour and a half a day. But if he is taking more trades, slightly higher risky trades, because he believes he's going up, because he believes that he believes that out of experience, he probably won't need to trade as much. But he seems to do okay. But like I say, sometimes you've got to take that with a pinch of salt. But he does trade what looks like a live account. It's not an Apex or it's not a funded account. It looks like a live account. So who knows? Who knows? But I kind of like watching his videos. He's interesting. He's a bit of a character, but yeah. When you watch people trade live, things can be quite different, can't they? If you base your decisions on how well someone does based on looking at their chart. Because I would say probably about 80% of the traders that post on our Facebook never seem to have any losers. So I don't know why people have got a problem with posting losers. Maybe they get embarrassed. We all do stuff. I don't mind. I'm quite happy doing it. I always post my chart. If I have losers, I just, I write a win or a loss. Not so much lately since I've started streaming. I have less time, but I've got no issues with showing losses. We all have losses. Obviously, more when you're sort of learning, when you're sort of more in that beginner phase. But your losses teach you things. You learn by your mistakes. So it is what it is. It's choppy now, isn't it? We got a push congestion. Looks like we're moving up and having this other leg. I did try that one and it went beyond there, but I kind of like we've had this channel and we've pulled out of it a couple of times and we've made one push up sideways, another push up, which often happens. You often get that quite sharp push, bit of sideways, another sharp push. But just wondering whether we're coming up any higher than this. It's hard to say, but definitely low in volume today for sure. And obviously, I'm assuming that's down to the news later. Just wondering whether it is worth. You post everything, yeah. Obviously, you've seen mine. You've seen. Mind you, I had a meltdown, didn't I? And I did some revenge trades. Well, I did delete that one because I don't mind showing me bad trades, but I don't want people seeing a meltdown. But we've all revenge traded, haven't we? But you've definitely, most of you guys have seen me at my lowest. But I was quite happy to delete that at the end of the day. But it just goes to show how tough things can be. Even when you're live streaming in front of people, you can still get into that mode of panic. It happens to the best of us. In fact, it happens to all of us. We've all done it. We've all taken dodgy looking trades. We've all got in there and panicked. We've all tried to get our money back. If a trader says they've never done that, I tend to not believe them because, the best in the business have failed many times. I listened to that guy, that Vince, who withdrew that $800,000 from Apex. He called himself the king of resets. So we've all done it. And obviously the downside to trading evaluation, especially when you got the 80% off, you're only risking $33. Well, that is in your head straight away and you're thinking, well, if I fail it, I'm only losing $33. So sometimes when things go bad, it's very easy to go, I might as well just go long here or I'll double up. I'll try and, shit or bust. I'll try and get my money back. And if you fail, what's it cost you? $30? That's the trouble when it doesn't cost a lot. It's very easy to get into that swing of things of taking stupid trades when you're down because you think, what have I got to lose? So that's the downside to, if you're paying $100 or $200 for these evaluations, obviously you tend to go a little bit more careful, but I'm only putting that in. I'm not using it. We've sort of started here. We've hit once. We've hit twice. It's a range of such, isn't it? Push up, sideways, push up, bit of sideways. But the best we got for now. See what happens. If we have a break here, am I going to go long? Probably not. I don't know. It's still a bit choppy and a bit congested for me. If we end up something like this, which is a little bit more clearer, then, I may do something. But at the moment, we've got this here and here, aren't we? It's still doing the same sort of stuff, isn't it? Lots of quick up and downs, lots of stems, unpredictable. So I'm quite happy watching Johnny English, PhD. I like that. I like that name. Very nice. If I was a gambler, I'd probably short here. Yeah. Well, we've had a couple of legs up. You're thinking how we've had this sort of a little bit of sideways, a little bit higher on a double top, haven't we? So it's certainly feasible to think we may come down here, maybe to here, or maybe to the open. Yeah, we have these ideas, don't we? In a lot of cases, sort of more than once you get used to reading the markets, even though it's not a setup, we still have a pretty good idea where it's likely to go. But the trouble is, because we're pinching such small little movements and we have these tight stops, it's very easy to just to get caught out, isn't it? And sometimes I'm thinking it looks like it's going to go up, so I'm going to go long. And typically you get, so there is a possible second entry long there, and we are in a trend. 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch. So depends how this finishes, but I may be interested in this. There's certainly scope to go higher. Let's see how this finishes. 1 push up sideways, 1 push up sideways. That is a second entry long if it does trigger. But it's going to have to be a damn good bar. But if it does, you'd certainly think maybe 4 points. I'd like it to push down and then push up nice and bullish, but I'm going to get an order ready. But unless it's a perfect bar finishing up here, I'll leave it alone. But it is a second entry short, and touched here, touched here, touched here. Push up, 2 push up. See what happens. It's only 6 ticks at the moment, so if it does push up a bit higher, we'll see how we get on. But it's not looking too bad. I can't see. I can't see where you may short there. See how we get on. So far, so good. Let's give it a go. Okay, that's not too bad, I don't think. It's not a big bar. It's only 7 ticks. It's sat nicely on top of there, so I can reduce that nicely. Let's see what happens. Let's leave that there. That's a second entry longs right on top of there. We've had a little bit of a break. That's come down, stop there. So I don't think it's a bad trade. I'm quite comfortable with taking this. It looks okay to me. I can't see any issues with it. It has been a choppy day, but I think it's probably the best of a bad day. But it's not a massive risk. I'm risking 2.25 points, so I'm okay with that. I dare say there's probably going to be some shorts there, maybe some shorts there. So if it does break above there, we may hit that point there. So we'll see what happens. But I'm not going to be too greedy. Yeah, it's only a 2.25 point risk total, so that's probably as low as it goes at the moment. So we'll see. See if we can get something out of it. It's not a massive risk. I like the way it's finished. It is a second entry. I think it's worth the risk for the small points. If it's 4 points, it might be a bit different, but I think it's worth the risk. I mean, I thought it was going to tag me for a minute. Sometimes they do come down, but we'll see. It is. I mean, if you look, it could almost be a bit of a range there, couldn't it? A little bit of sideways, but what's going for me is it's at the lower part of that, so it's hard to say at the moment. It may stop me out, but I don't think it was a terrible trade. Let's see, but it's only a small risk, so it's not too bad. that stop? Okay, that's fine. That is a failure, actually. But I don't think the trade was terrible. We can count that as a new high. Let's see if this goes bullish. Let's see what happens. But it wasn't a massive risk, so I'm okay with that one. See what happens. So you could recount that. That could be a second entry long. I'd expect to make a new high. Let's see if we get another setup here. See, that failure has triggered, but if it breaks above here, let's just get an order ready to go long. I'm quite right with that, actually, because it's quite a small risk. Possibly too early, but it was a second entry long off the key entry point. We're clearly going up at the moment. Let's see if this finishes any better. See what happens. But it wasn't a first entry. Look, you can count that as 2, can't you? So first entry, second entry. It's a second entry long. No. You can either recount it or start again. And I counted it. So first entry, second entry long. You close it at break even, yeah. So I wasn't the only one who took that. What did it go for? About a point, I think. Didn't look like a bad trade to me. I think the only thing I would say is it's a little bit sideways, but it is at the bottom of it, so it's hard to say. You could count that. Yeah, it's just done what it's done today. It's a little bit choppy. I thought it was worth a risk because started here, touched here, touched here. I think it was worth a risk. It was a small bar. That was clearly a second entry long off the, right off the EMA. But because of the choppiness today, that's probably made it a slightly more risky. But I think it was worth it. And it was a small risk, 2.25 points. Well, you say it looks like one leg down. It could be, but it might. It's a second entry, so sometimes it's just you got to take them, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. That one was a second entry, not a brilliant bar, but it took off. But it is what it is, isn't it? It's a judgment, isn't it? So I'd say it looks like we're coming up based on this. I'm expecting it to come up to here, to this measured move, and make a new high, but that other trade. Let's get rid of that. I'll forget it's there. But I don't mind it. I think it was worth the risk. Yeah, it's definitely, because that's made a new high, doesn't mean you've got to recount. You can either start the count or you can count that. So if you count it, try to go once, try to go twice. So it was a second entry long. Yeah, you've got those two bars, but you've got one which is not far off a doji, and then you've got another one down. You're always going to have red bars coming down to the EMA when we have a break, but, to me, this looks like it's coming higher. And obviously I made a judgment call about the points. It was 2.25 points, so I think it was worth it. But you can take trades based on account and based on visually. I mean, it's looking to me like we're going to make a new high. That's what I was expecting. So, look, I mean, we can agree and disagree all day long, but it was a second entry on the count at the key entry point, looking to go higher, which we have. It's just one of those things, isn't it? Yeah, that's what I mean. It goes where we thought it would go. That's the problem. So it might have worked and it might not have worked. But if it worked, I would expect to get somewhere in the region of 3.5 to 4 points out of it. And it was a 2.25 point risk. So it was worth the risk. I wouldn't have took it otherwise. It wasn't quick moving, so I wasn't rushed into the decision. It's a second entry. You could say it's a visual, but we haven't had another visual down, but you think, okay, if it's a visual first entry, maybe we're going to get another leg. Or someone else said 2 legs. So where's the other leg then? But it still looks like it's going up. That's what I'm saying. The bias at the moment is up. We had a second entry off the key entry point. It's a decision, we've all got to make. It was a low, look what's happening. It's a low risk. So it is what it is, It's easy after the fact to say, well, it looks like this, well, it looks like that, but we're clearly going up at the moment. We had a break, second entry long off the key entry point. The bar was small. That's one good thing. The way the bar looked was fine. And yeah, the frustrating thing is I always usually give myself an extra tick. I'd probably still get taken, wouldn't I? Yeah, would I? But, it is what it is, isn't it? You've got to make a decision. But the market is choppy at the moment, and it isn't reacted. It wasn't a stupid trade. It wasn't a random trade. It was a second entry long, and you say it looks like one leg. Well, every time they come back to the EMA, we're going to have red bars. You know what I mean? If we're breaking from an uptrend, so it's hard to say. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's a personal decision, and if that bar was twice the size, I wouldn't have touched it. Is the fact that it was 2 1/4, so I thought it was worth the risk. So it is what it is. I can't turn back the clock. I didn't think it was a bad trade. Excuse me a minute. I'm just going to have a quick bathroom break. Yeah, I just saw your comment. Oh, Summers I left. I did consider jumping in here, but it's easy for you because you're sat on your own. I got 66 people watching me take a bad trade, and I'm trying to avoid doing that. As much as I thought it was going to go up, I'm trying to avoid doing that. But I did consider just jumping in here because but you just never know. It might not go up. But put it this way, if you look through the day, that's about the best we've got as an entry. Now, is it brilliant? It's not bad. But unfortunately, with the way the day is, and it is a little bit, sort of maybe a bit rangy there, but I don't think it was a bad trade. Some of these trades, they'll work some of the time, but I would certainly say that would work. That would work maybe 60% of the time, maybe a bit more. And if I'm getting double me risk to reward, then it's certainly worth it, I think. My point is it's a double top. It's a judgment call, like you say. Yeah, but yeah, it is. I mean, you say it's a double top, but still looks like it's going to go higher. But, it's a second entry if you count it, yeah? So off the key entry point, we've had a break. You expect a new high, but, they don't always work. Usually wait for a failure. Yeah, trouble is, on something like this, by the time we get a failure, it'd be up here. You know what I mean? So sometimes you've got to jump on something. I mean, my account's going okay. I've had a patient day. I thought out of everything I've seen today, it was probably the one that looked most like a trade. And I'm pretty sure we're coming up. We're certainly trying to make a new high. It's just one of those things, isn't it? Some days we have these choppy days and these trades don't work as effective as maybe they usually do. Yeah, I don't know what it went. Yeah, you'd have got 3/4 of a point. So there'll be quite a few traders which would have taken that. I'll tell you that for certain. I think there was a few here. Mahala, yeah. Looks like a trade to me. I mean, you say, well, okay, yeah, but we want another leg down, but we haven't had that. But we still like we're going up, so it's hard to say. something that looks like a leg down isn't always. We've just got a bar at the top here, and then we've got one bar down. So, no, it is what it is. See, it might not make it. It's hard to say. So we got a new low. Who knows? We've got a doji now, see? So, and it is now looking like it's starting to go sideways. But even with this sideways stuff, I thought this was at the bottom third of it. So, you know, if the congestion stuff was down here, then I may have left it. But it's at this bottom section, and look what happens when we get this bottom section. It goes up. So it is what it is. I think it's just a first entry. Well, at the count, it isn't. Because look, we got first entry, second entry. You can either recount this or count it. So you can count it that as a first entry, even though they're the same high, and you can count that as a second entry. So it's a personal thing, isn't it? You know, we've all got. Yeah, I mean, it did look like a sort of bounce. And like I say, if the signal bar had been like that, I wouldn't have touched it. It was at the bottom of this, you know, this area, and it looked okay to me. But if you can figure out a way of going back in time and get me out of it, then I'm quite happy with it. But, you know, we've got to make a decision, haven't we? And, you know, what's the ATR at the moment? Yeah. As far as risk goes, the ATR's just over 1 1/3, isn't it? 2 1/3. So I think the whole risk was 2 1/4 points, including tick above, tick below. So I think that was okay. Trades don't always work. But I think out of what I've seen today, it's the best of a bad bunch anyway. Sometimes they don't work. Next time it might and give me 4 points or 3 points, which would double that. See, so even if that works 50% of the time and I'm making double the points, then, you know, you always reset the count. Yeah, Yuli Mac and lots of others saying you can either keep it or reset it. A lot of the times I've seen them use it as a second entry, then reset it for maybe a failure. So they change it according to what they want to do. So if it's looking like a second entry, they'll count it. If it's a failure, maybe if they're taking a failure here, they'll count it as well. So, you know, but I'd say the one thing, if anything, I don't think the trade was bad, and I'll tell you why it might have went south, is if you look what we've done most of the day, we've had a push down, sideways, push up, sideways, push up, sideways. So push down, side. We've had a lot of moves and then some sideways. So I was aware that it might happen, but because it was quite low down and I was expecting it to go high, that's why I took it. But it is what it is. You know, it's easy with high sight to sort of analyze it and go over it, isn't it? But one, it's a second entry by the count. Two, it's off a key entry point, exactly where I like taking it. So yeah, unfortunately, this time it didn't work. But yeah, I just chickened out. Yeah, yeah. To me, it was a second entry, but I bet there'll be a few caught out on that. But it's just one of those unfortunate things. We're getting a push and some chop and a push and some chop. But, you know, pretty much a lot of what's gone on today. If you get a nice PA movement between highs and lows, they'll count it as an entry. Kind of choppy and no momentum between the two. Yeah. Yeah. If I saw that again, would I take the same trade? Yeah, if it was the same risk bar, because more times than not, it'll work. And if you're sort of going at least 1-to-1, it's worth it. And obviously that was I'd have probably come up to here somewhere, which is, is it 1-to-3, something like that. One to two, maybe. So there's another second entry long there, but that is like barbed wire. Stems up, stems down. I am thinking we're going up, but just after that one, when I've had a loss, I tend to try and not have another one, but I'm quite happy going home on that. I don't mind. Yeah, that's sort of finished a bit odd again. It's probably, I'd say it's likely to hit this measured move or certainly make a new high, but there's not a lot of movement there. What is that? 4 points from top to bottom. So if you're taking a trade around the middle, it's just not worth it, is it? Yeah, top to bottom is 4.25 points. So there's not much room for error, really, is there? The difference, that loser, the other ones. This one doesn't hurt. No, it doesn't. Because yeah, the setup looked okay. It's the ones I think, ooh, if that ended up with Doji and I took that, I'd feel like ass for that. But I got no problem with that because I made a conscious decision. It wasn't a snap decision. Market's moving quite slow. I made a conscious decision because I actually measured the size of the bar before I took it. But we've had a small break here. It's just unfortunate when we seem to have a push today in whatever direction we're having. You know, we've sort of, we get this side, we had a push up and a bit of a sideways, same again, push up, sideways, push up, sideways. We've done pretty much a lot of that, push up, sideways, push down, a bit sideways, you know, so we've had a lot of that. And Mac mentions that now and again. Sometimes we'll get a move and then sideways. So if you're going to take a trade when it does that, you've just obviously got to try and take them in the best position. So, you know, as in where it is, that's where I like to take it, with the bottom of the green hugging the top line. So more times than not, that'll work. And I'm going to get probably at least 1-to-1. That's what I'd expect to get out of that. So it was a what's the word I'm looking for? It was a sort of calculated risk. Yeah. I'm just wondering whether to come back maybe after, I don't know. We'll see. So I feel good today. I'm quite happy taking that. I don't mind taking trades that looked like a trade to me. Now, what can I learn from that? Sometimes, you know, days like this, push up sideways. So maybe I should have thought, well, there's going to be a bit of sideways, but it is taking it in the bottom third going up. So it is what it is. But I got no problem there. I don't feel frustrated in the slightest. I'm quite happy taking a trade that I believe to be a good one, and I'll post that later as well as a loss. I bet there'll be quite a few people who got out there. See, Mahala, that's the difference between having the patience to wait to look what's a setup, because we've all taken a bad trade, what we know is a risky trade. Sometimes when we look at a trade, we'll think, I like that, and I did. Or we'll look at that and think, it's not brilliant. And when you get that feeling, if you take a trade and lose it, that's often what takes you, puts you on tilt. Those are the ones that work for me, the ones that send me on tilt. When there was something inside of me said I should have avoided it. Well, to me, it looks fine. It still looks fine, you know, but sometimes they don't work. Just because the way the day is, you know, sometimes they just don't work. But, you know, I don't want to be worried about pulling the trigger on something that looks right. You have to go for what looks like an okay entry. And if you lose it, you move on. And I'm quite happy moving on from that because it looked okay. Be interesting to see if Matt mentions that later. He often does sometimes if, you know, if there's something that looked okay and people got caught out. Don't think that channel is drawn correctly. Well, I mean, it could. It's okay to readjust. If you're readjusting stuff, it could be here, but you do it really to the next swing. It could be like that, and that looks okay. But we didn't have all that then, see, did we? We sort of had this, so it is what it is. Usually you draw off the first two swings, don't you? So whether you call that first swing, second swing, or whether you call that the first swing and that the second swing, it's hard to say, but that's how I had it. But yeah, it's clearly sort of choppy. It didn't look bad there. When we sort of eventually got out of here, it seemed to make a lot more predictable moves. In fact, when's the news? It comes out soon, doesn't it? Oh, bit of a spike there. Yeah, these are the ones that I'm avoiding. Now that is a possible second entry long, fade the breakout, but the way things are going at the moment, it's hard to say. We haven't. It's hard to say. Even if we do adjust that to back here, we definitely haven't made a new high. So we haven't made a new high after the break, whichever way you look at it. So am I thinking we're going to possibly? Does that give me the confidence to fade this breakout? Not the way things are. I think it's risky. That will not mention it at all. So it was silently bad. Well, you're all entitled to your opinion anyway. Some people would have taken it, some people won't. Maybe he'll mention it, maybe he won't. But perhaps you know him. Perhaps you know him better than me. So we have got this open here. I certainly don't want to be thinking about taking a trade there because the last thing I want to be doing is being stuck in it. So, in fact, guys, I'm going to I may even pop back later. See what happens. Is it likely to come back in? Possibly, yeah. I just don't like the way these highs are getting lower and lower. So we may have a bit of a dip. It's hard to say. So even if you do adjust that chart like that, you say a spike and channel. It's not really. Well, where's your spike here? It's not much of a spike, but it's hard to say really. So you could call this I don't know. You can keep adjusting these and adjusting them till they fit perfectly on everything, but at the end of the day, it's usually the first two swings. You call that the second swing or that the second swing. Either way, fitted with that. That fitted, that fitted, that fitted. It doesn't often always finish nice the other side. But there's no use crying over spilt milk. Trade looked okay. I took it. Small risk. Lost it. I'm moving on. Uh, 40 actually. Well, it's depends where you are. Eastern Standard Time. It's about 10 minutes. Right? 15 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes. Your side, if you look there, it'll be 40, it'll be 12:40 where you are. I'm assuming you are 5 hours behind me. I'm just wondering, there's likely going to be some longs there, which I think is why that obviously people are expecting a new high, but often they eat up the longs, don't they? Which is probably what's happened. Yeah. In fact, I'm leaving it there, guys. Actually, I might pop back for an hour later. We'll see what happens, just to see out of curiosity what's happened. But one trade, lose it. Wasn't a bad trade, I don't think, obviously, but with the sideways chop, just took me out there. But it was a calculated risk, and one, I think if I saw that again and it wasn't quite a choppy day, I'm happy to take that again. But sometimes, I saw Taylor posted one about a week ago just to show you we'd had a similar sort of thing. But it was short, it went short, and it ticked down, came and stopped him out. But sometimes they happen. You know, I've got no problem with taking a trade like that and losing it. It doesn't hurt me because I know, to me, it looked like a good trade, and that's all I can do. You know, we move on. It's when my patience have got the best of me. Now, second entry, if I'd have gone long there, the signal bar was a bit crap. If I'd have taken that and got stopped out, they're the ones that frustrate me and make me make stupid decisions, but they're not. I've got no problem with taking what looks like a good trade, even if it loses, because you learn from it. You don't learn from taking a stupid mistake because you know you've made it when you're making it, you know what I mean? So, it weren't a bad trade. Yeah, it's just the way things are at the moment. Things are a little bit, things are a bit choppy. But if it would have been a bigger bar, then I wouldn't have taken it. Because I'm aware that it's a little bit sidewaysy choppy. So, but you know, I've got no problem with that. I feel I'm all right with that. It is what it is, but you learn from these things. Maybe next time would I stay out? I don't know. If it's a bit choppy like that again on a bad day, then yeah, maybe I might think, oh, remember what happened last time. But on a normal day, I'd take that, and a normal day that'd work most of the time. But it was a little risk anyway, so that's good. So I'm going to knock it on there, guys. I'm going to go and have some tea. It's 5:30 in the UK. And I might pop back after the news for an hour, and I'll see. I'll have a look later. But I'm quite happy today. I've had a patient day, and my patients are fine at the moment. Even with that loss, I've got no problem with that. So I will leave you. I'll leave you for the day. So if you're trading today, have a good day. I hope you've had some winners today, but there hasn't been a lot judging by this. It's been very sort of condensed, isn't it, really, and not done a lot. So have a great day. Yeah, you too, mate. And I will catch up with you all same time tomorrow.